is one of Ghost Rider's most powerful signature abilities, which is surprising because it seems to be pretty darn fickle about when it wants to work or not. I cannot wait for the amount of corrections I'm going to receive in the comments when I tell you about the top 10 people the Penance Stare does not work on. And at number 10 is Deadpool. It could be that the Penance Stare just doesn't work on Deadpool, or, as stated when he survived the stare in Deadpool number 26, it could also be that Zarathos simply didn't want to end Wade Wilson's life, as Johnny Blaze states that the Ghost Rider wanted to show Deadpool something, and if it wanted to take his life, then Deadpool would be a goner. Instead, it did show Deadpool his past and kind of remind him of the things that have sucked in his said past. There are various reasons the Penance Stare doesn't affect certain people. For the most part, historically, it works based on what the writer's or the victim's perspective of the sins are. But realistically though, the only way to survive the Penance Stare is if you either don't have a soul or if you have divine protection. Otherwise, if Zarathos wants you dead, you're doomed. But then again, that isn't always the case. Number 9, Centurious. No soul means no fear from the Penance Stare. So robots, for example, can't be affected by the Penance Stare, or people like Centurious, who sold their souls, would be another example. The proof for this point can be found in Ghost Rider number 43 from 1990, where Centurious completely ignores Ghost Rider's most dangerous ability thanks to the lack of a soul. Basically, for those of you who don't know who Centurious is, I don't blame you, but he is cool. Basically, the guy who would become this soulless character belonged to a small Native American tribe 2,000 years ago. Followers of Zarathos, the spirit of vengeance, ransacked his village. So he sought out Mephisto for help, and Mephisto helped by removing his soul. Now, when he confronted Zarathos, Centurious was pretty much immune to many of the spirit's attacks, and he defeated it. So you can imagine when he faced Ghost Rider himself, the Penance Stare did absolutely nothing. Number 8. Johnny Blaze. But let's further contradict ourselves, shall we? In Doctor Strange Damnation number 3, Johnny Blaze is immune to the Penance Stare that is performed on him by Black Panther because, and I quote, "I'm not really the penitent type." He then says, "Nice try, kitty," and kicks Panther in the nuts. Nice. But the really confusing problem here is that he has been affected by the Penance Stare before. In fact, 2 Ghost Riders both had the Penance Stare performed on them and they were both affected. Johnny Blaze used the Penance Stare on Danny Ketch, who recovered seemingly very quickly, and then used the stare back on Johnny, so whoever is writing the rules at Marvel needs to make some sense, bro. Number 7. Thanos. And now we enter into the area of the video where I have a hard time explaining the Penance Stare. Up until this point, the other characters who were spared by Zarathos had no soul or they were Ghost Riders. But with Thanos and more than a few characters after this point, they are simply not affected by the Penance Stare thanks to the view they have on their sins. In Cosmic Ghost Rider number 5, we learn Thanos is more or less immune to the stare as well due to the little fact that he absolutely does not regret anything he's ever done. Not only that, but he has actually enjoyed what he's done. This is not MCU Thanos, by the way. That's kind of important because MCU Thanos did what he did for the good of the universe. He was clearly affected by the passing of Gamora, and the Penance Stare would absolutely destroy him. But comic Thanos? He is literally pining after death. He is in love with death and has done some insane things just to impress her. As we see in Thanos number 15 from 2018, for Thanos, he enjoys what he does and he likes to remind himself of his sins using the writer's most powerful move just before he eats breakfast. Number 6. The Deacon. The Deacon believed that he was chosen by God to take down all of the sinners in the world, which led him to being imprisoned for being a serial killer. It was actually Zadkiel that chose Deacon, but he's an angel slash archangel, so like split the difference, I guess. This guy, the Deacon, is more or less immune to the Penance Stare for a similar reason to our buddy Thanos. As he says, the Ghost Rider's stare doesn't work on him because he's not bothered by anything he's done. Which doesn't really make sense, cause even in the story that he says it, Ghost Rider literally says on the previous page that the Penance Stare makes people feel all the pain they've ever caused, all the misery, every crime they've committed in the name of God, every person they have crippled or maimed. He says nothing about how that person feels about it, but okay, Deacon, go off, I guess, I don't know. Luckily for Mr. Blaze, there was a massive Bible nearby and he proceeded to beat the snot out of Deacon using it. Number 5. Carol Danvers. Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, powered through the Penance Stare in Avengers number 16 from 2018. Robbie Reyes had been turned to the dark side by the leader of the Legion of the Unliving, and during the fight with his other Avengers, the super demonic looking Ghost Rider gets a hold of Carol Danvers and performs the Penance Stare, with her throwing her head back screaming, but she just seemed to power through it. The reason that Captain Marvel gave for this one, right after it failed, is because she has done penance her whole life and is tired of being punished for existing. Did she just power through it, or is it actually because she is over the whole penance thing? Does this sound like plot armor? I don't know, kind of to me, but they gotta beat him somehow, I guess, so. Number 4, the Punisher. Apparently, the Punisher is immune to the Penance Stare due to regretting nothing, which he stated in Thunderbolts number 29 from 2013. But hold your horses, because it has also worked on him as well. The time it worked was apparently because, as stated in Double Edge Alpha and Omega, the Punisher was regressed to the day his family died, with him brainwashed into thinking Nick Fury is the one who did the deed on his family. He eventually takes out Nick Fury before being tranked and penance stared. This Punisher was not only mentally different from the one with no regrets, but he was going psychotic. But then again, it was also revealed that the only reason Punisher was saved from the stare back in Thunderbolts number 29 was in fact because he had divine protection due to Deadpool using the Angel's Feather on him. Number 3, Blackheart. In 2012's Venom number 14, Blackheart had successfully brought hell to Las Vegas, and a group of disparate superheroes were trying to take him down. The solution that the heroes came up with was for the Red Hulk to merge with Venom's symbiote and also gain the spirit of vengeance, making an awesome Ghost Hulk Venom Rider, or a Venom Ghost Rider Hulk, a Hulk Rider Symbiote Ghost. Whatever you want to call this mashup, he or they or hims use the Penance Stare on Blackheart. But what do you know, showing a demon all of his misdeeds actually serves to power up said demon, and Blackheart instantly went on the counterattack. Now this one, much like the soulless characters, kind of actually just makes sense to me. Blackheart is the son of Mephisto, the one who gave Ghost Rider the spirit of vengeance in the first place, but also the stare makes its victims relive all of their misdeeds at once, and misdeeds are Blackheart's source of power, so whoops. Number 2, Symbiotes. At one point, both Venom and Ghost Rider were part of the Thunderbolts, and being a team of morally gray characters and villains, it was literally only a matter of time until things got ugly. In Thunderbolts number 23, Ghost Rider and Venom came into conflict, and Ghost Rider used the Penance Stare on the symbiote. But holy guacamole, Ghost Rider was overwhelmed by just how much messed up stuff that the Venom symbiote had done over the years. But I don't really understand this, as those are literally the things that the Penance Stare is supposed to manipulate and use against a victim. You know, whatever. But there is proof it may just be a symbiote power. There was an instance during a crossover between Ghost Rider / Blaze, the Spirits of Vengeance, and Web of Spider-Man that revealed that there was a problem between Ghost Rider's Penance Stare and the symbiotes, period, since they are not from this planet, which made it really dumb in Absolute Carnage, Symbiotes of Vengeance number 1, when Ghost Rider tried to use the stare on Carnage, who specifically reminded the writer he had tried this on Venom before and it did not work. So why he would think that he could make it work on Carnage, I'm not too sure. And in at number 1 is Conan the Barbarian. Finally, the most recent and seemingly most underexplained one. In Savage Avengers number 21, Conan the Barbarian had sort of merged with a symbiote weapon so that Conan and the symbiote, who both held a grudge against the sorcerer Kulan Gath, could get their vengeance together. Ghost Rider, meanwhile, was dealing with some of his own Kulan Gath issues and confronted Conan to learn where he could get to Kulan Gath. Now the two battled, and in the middle of the fight, Ghost Rider broke out the Penance Stare on Conan, only it did absolutely nothing. Now given that Kulan was using a symbiote weapon at the time, the problem for Ghost Rider was likely tied to the symbiote, but it could also be that Conan just believes so strongly in that Crom dude that this heaven and hell thing doesn't really matter to him. Maybe. But whatever the reason is, Conan was able to get past the Penance Stare very, very easily, and Conan was even able to destroy Ghost Rider's skull, but the resulting side effect of that action led Conan to being sent back in time to the Hyborian Age, so you know, 2 wins, 1 loss. What are you gonna do? And that's the list. What did you all think? I'm kind of actually curious to hear what you guys say down in the comments, but either way, I've been your host Adam Andrews, you've been watching Top 10 Nerd, and until next time, peace out, nerdles.